Welcome back everybody, Ren here with another build video for you, and this colorful behemoth you see before you is Pinata, an AC that's designed to be hit, and the first shield build that I've put up on the channel. For a few of you, this will actually be a re-upload of this video. I put it up, and within the first couple of hours there was a lot of questions or comments on things that I thought that I should go back through and touch on. So I just wanted to start fresh and go back through it and make sure I hit on all the key points as we go through the build itself. But with that, we'll jump into it. So for this build, we're actually going to start out on the back left unit. And this is going to be the whole thing that this build revolves around, the pulse scutum. And this is a spot that I've had a lot of questions on, especially related to the build, why I chose the scutum over something like the coral shield, things like that. So comparing the two directly, the scutum puts up this really big shield in front of you, blocks pretty much all incoming fire from the front, or I should say dampens the damage for incoming fire from the front, and it takes about 4 seconds or so to get up and running at its max stats. Its damage mitigation is going to be the highest among the shields at a huge 86, and even its impact damage is up at 70. The other option here, if we change the generator, would be the coral shield, and this one is going to put a 360-degree bubble around you, so it's essentially like a pulse armor. But you'll see our damage mitigation is going to drop to 55, so all the way from 86 down to 55, a little more than half, and our impact dampening is going to drop a little bit too, from 70 to 50. We'd also have to change our generator, things like that for the Ian shortfall. The coral shield is useful in that you can still fire your left-hand weapon, and we'll touch a little bit more on that when we go to the pulse scutum and our weapon choice on the left side. But the coral shield's nice for certain builds. Certain builds are a little bit more aggressive. You can really still fire that left-hand weapon and lean into that. But for this build, I really prefer the higher stats on the scutum versus just the lower stats on the shield, even though we get that left side firing ability. So we'll just go ahead and we'll move into the left arm weapon to expand on that just a little bit. So we're going to use the Javelin Alpha, and this is going to be our punishing weapon. So it has one of, if not the highest direct hit adjustment among weapons. So this is going to be something, once we stagger them with our right side weapons, the detonating bazooka Javelin Alpha is going to be our punishing weapon that does a lot of direct damage. Now I wanted something on this side that I didn't have to fire very often, because when you have the pulse scutum out, if you fire your left-hand weapon, or if you fire any charged attack, it will actually retract the shield. Now, with the coral shield, which you certainly could use for this type of build, I've got another one that I'm working on that uses the shield instead, that's a little lighter, a little bit more aggressive. But with the coral shield, you can normal fire your left arm weapons as long as they're not a melee weapon. But charged attacks, melee weapons, things like that will still retract the coral shield as well, but you get a little bit more freedom on that one versus the scutum. Moving into our right hand, we're going to use the aperitif, so I wanted something that I could still attack at range with, and the aperitif seems perfect for that. It does high stagger damage, and I can attack at range, and those were my two kind of key points that I wanted on this right side weapon, because we're not that fast. It's hard for us to really catch up to people, so I wanted something we could attack both close range as well as at a distance, and that does high stagger damage, and that we don't have to charge. So it's something that I can leave that left shield out the whole time. So the aperitif really seemed to fit the bill on all of that. Other considerations that you could do would be something like a plasma rifle or a laser rifle, as long as you don't use those charge shots. Even regular rifles work quite well, so linear rifles, assault rifles, the Ransetsu, something like that. I've tried all of these, and they all worked just fine. I prefer the aperitif myself. If you are using the linear rifles or one of the charging rifles, just be mindful that that charge attack will cancel your shield. So moving into the right back unit, we're going to use the trainers, and I'm using these the same reason I'm using the aperitif. They have a really high attack and impact damage for just a solo weapon, since we don't have that much kind of offensive ability, not being able to use weapons on our left side that often. So the trainers have that really high impact damage, leading to that stagger, so we can punish them with the Javelin Alpha. And they have range too, so they work both quite well at close range as well as at kind of medium to long range. So they really fit that same thing as the aperitifs. So we'll move into the frame part itself. So we're going to use the Varel head, and I'm using it primarily just because it has all around fantastic stats, some of the higher AP and defensive stats on any of the heads that we have. And again, you could go like Basho, something like that. You get a little bit higher defense on a lot of things. It does drop our energy defense. That's something that this AC, some of the heavier parts suffer from regardless, is a lack of energy defense. It also really lowers our scan distance. And since we have missiles, I want to be able to scan at range and keep that lock on. So I think the Varel is the way to go. Another really important part of this build is going to be its attitude stability. If you're staggered, that shield will drop off, and it has a really long recharge time. So there's only two heads that even beat the Varel in attitude stability, which is going to be the Mind Beta, whose defensive stats are not great, and the Ephemera, which would be another option, but definitely drops down your kinetic defense. And there's not a whole lot of reason, I think, to use the Ephemera, but it does increase your stability a little bit, but you lose a lot of stats that I find useful from the Varel. Moving on to the core, we're going to use the main dish, and there's a few heavy options you could go with here. I'm using main dish. It has almost maxed out defensive stats. Its AP is a little bit lower than some of the other choices we have, but we also get that really high generator supply adjustment, which is great. You could use the 40A, I think would be your next best option. So you get more AP, a little bit more energy defense, which is nice. And it kind of flips the generator supply stuff, so you get more output, less supply. But it's definitely another good option. This could be one if you're leaning into the laser rifle side of things instead of missiles. I think the 40A might be a really good way to go. You could use the Tiangkong. Kind of same thing. You get more AP out of it, you get more output adjustment, but it does really drop our energy defense. And like I was saying before, some of the heavier parts really lack energy defense anyway, so I really wanted to squeeze that in where I could. Hence the main dish, which has almost maxed energy defense. Moving into the arms, since we're primarily using missiles, we're not worried about firearm specialization that much, and the Javelin Alpha being a stagger punish weapon is only going to fire on things that aren't really moving anyway, though I do occasionally use it once our shield gets knocked off up close. I use it to punish people who come in for melee attacks, things like that, so we really don't need that much firearm specialization. There's probably a few other options that you could go with here, but I think the Tian Lao really just fit the bill at high AP, high defense, but again you can see we lack a little bit of energy defense. It's a theme among a lot of the heavier arms, especially the Dafeng type arms, parts in general really have a lack of energy defense. Moving into the legs, you see that same thing, really high defense, but only like half a bar of energy defense, so we really wanted to make that up where we could. You could do like the 42B, something like that. It shifts a couple of your stats. You get a little bit better thrust, a little bit better quick boost, but you get less AP, less defense. Most notably, your stability is a lot lower, down from 16 to 900. So that's the real reason that I'm leaning into the Bornemisa, is that attitude stability. And just overall defensive stats, but it's really that attitude stability that I'm picking it over some of the other tank legs. But certainly, again, if you go like laser build, something like that, could be fun to shift it into the 42B, but I wanted to lean all into that really tanky build. Boosters, of course, we don't have any. FCS, I'm just using the SLT for its missile lock correction. Again, we only have one like standard firearm using the Javelin Alpha, and we don't really need that much assistance on it since they're probably not going to be moving or they'll be right on top of us. So the SLT for the missile lock correction for our right side missiles. In the generator, I'm going to use the San Tai. It doesn't have amazing output, but its other stats are great, so if you don't need that energy output, then the San Tai is one of the better options. If you're going to go for the laser rifle build instead of missiles, I'd probably shift into something like the 20C, maybe one of the, like the NGI might be a good option for you. You could squeeze on the 20B as well for that max energy firearm specialization. You'd definitely have to shift around a few of the parts, but I think you could probably make that work as well. For the expansion slots, this is another kind of hot debate that I had when I posted up the build originally. So I'm using pulse protection. And let me see if anybody hasn't used pulse protection, hasn't encountered it, because you really don't see it in multiplayer that often. It makes this really large kind of area bubble around you. So it lasts about 25 seconds, which is just a hair over twice as long as the pulse armor. You don't see it that often, so I liked it that it's something different. I like it, it's got a little bit more resilience than the pulse armor. You can see that 4,000 versus the 33. Pulse armor lasting 10 seconds and pulse protection lasting 25. And it forces people either... So I use it when our shield goes down or when there's something like a really large missile swarm. We're not that fast, we're not that evasive. So I use it to get things off of me that I normally wouldn't be able to avoid. Pulse armor, of course, sort of accomplishes the same thing in that it just blocks all that incoming damage. Armor's nice in that it resets that stagger bar. Pulse protection is nice in that it forces things a little bit away from you, and then if they decide to come inside your bubble, then you have your Javelin Alpha, you can just ram them. There's a lot of close range options that you have if they do decide to come in after you. This build actually does quite well against super close range or melee builds, just because they can't stagger you as easy as they would be able to another build. But certainly you could go pulse armor. I really think it's just kind of personal preference. But I really wanted to take the opportunity, since I'm using a shield build, to lean into the other shield expansion part there. But with that, we're going to jump into some multiplayer. Actually, right before we jump into multiplayer, I just want to show off the paint job just a little bit. So I have these awesome, like, no damage decals, ricochet, things like that. I really initially set out just to make it kind of bright, colorful, and obnoxious, which is opposite of my normal paint schemes, which tend to be either really dark or kind of militaristic or reserved in some respects. But I actually really liked the way it turned out. And I developed the paint scheme kind of before I decided that it was going to be Pinata. And then, it kind of rolled out from there. I was like, oh, wow, this guy really just looks like a parade float or like a Pinata. And from there, the paint scheme kind of developed itself. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. And this custom, like, half-colored core, things like that. I guess a good spot to remind you that all of my schematics with the custom decal work, paint, all of that good stuff is going to be in the Discord channel for YouTube members. So I won't post it here, but all the members will have access to it. So I hope you'll check it out if you're interested. But for real this time, let's jump into multiplayer. Okay, so here we are in 1v1s. So we have sort of missile boat. Got those mine launchers, that might be an issue for us too. It's really probably going to be those double Tranos. We're not that evasive, so that one is going to hurt. Just sheer impact and damage of those double Tranos. We're going to start out with their shield up because it does take 4 seconds to charge here. Oh, here comes our zippy tank. See if we can get some stagger bar built up there. Not too bad. It's relatively hard to stagger too, and that's sort of another weakness for us, is things that are really hard to stagger. So I went in there, broke my shield, and I tried to punish him with the javelin. I'm right up against the wall here. We really need to move out. Oh, did not get my lock on there. There we go. Shield is back online. And I used my Javelin Alpha earlier. I shouldn't have. I didn't have it to punish that stagger there. Mine Launcher is interesting though, but it's really those... The Mine Launcher's fine. It's really those Trainos that are putting in real work against us. I'm going to come in for a mine again. I'll punish that with their Javelin. So we almost have our stagger bar back. So we got the shot in before his pulse armor went out, which is nice. And assault boosting too will break that shield, so it's something you have to be aware of. So assault boosting as well as the Traino is not something that I do a whole lot of. We are almost out of time here. Who won it? Who won it? We win! That had to be close. You tanky boys. Okay. I don't want to be trapped up against that wall again. And I haven't quite got used to these tank legs yet in the way that they move, because they feel different than the wheelchair legs. They don't turn quite as quickly. There we go. So they just don't feel quite the same. Oh, that was unfortunate. Just missed that. And I haven't quite gotten used to their turning yet. So it does come in and get a little damage on us, but we can at least punish it with the Javelin. And I'm down here, so I can't shoot. It's unfortunate. Let's get a shield off. We'll go ahead and punish that stagger with the needle missiles. Oh, it hurts. The shield should be back online any second now. Should be nice. Ah, nope, he's gonna get us first. Okay, match 3. Phase 3. Do this. You're going the wrong way, my friend. There we go. We've almost got our needle missiles back up. Yep, so we're saving the Javelin for that move right there. Right, real punish. You really shouldn't come directly at something with needle missiles. I'll say that Mine Launcher just totally breaks our shield if we have any sort of stagger built up. That is unfortunate. That's fine. It does give us access to our Javelin Alpha and to quick boosting. So that is totally fine. He's going to pop that shield. Our shield is back online. Got our needles back up. Let's build some distance. Let our stagger bar drop a little bit. Got him. Did we get him? There we go. Took a long time for that to pop up. Win. You can see, still 7,000 health left. And really, I would consider that build kind of a counter for us. Let's jump into another. This is going to be our second 1v1 here. Oh, and this guy is light. Hey, this is basically my spider thread build, but on reverse joints. So they got that stun potential with the stun needles. I'm curious how the stun needles do against the shield. I'm really not sure. But the double trainers definitely put in work. You go around the other side. There he is. He goes for the kick, we go for the needle missiles. He is very kicky. And we'll punish that. You can see how much damage that javelin outfit does. Punish that. Again, anybody who goes in for a kick, if they don't get it, if they don't get that stagger and get that kick and we just avoid it, it just does that. You're about to lose half your health, especially if you're a lightweight. Pro tip too, it's really hard to hit. I mean, it's hard to hit anybody with a kick while they're moving backwards, but especially a tank. They just have such a consistent movement speed. They can be really difficult to kick if you don't have them staggered, or if you're not coming in from like the side, or if they're not moving forward. Knew he was going to come in for that, so we're just going to... There's the shield. But it was worth the loss of our shield for a second there to punish him coming in for that kick. He's floating around us, but we don't really care. Okay. Have that 360-degree rotating top. Jump inside the barrier here. I should have saved my javelin. I thought I'd get him with that shot. Should have saved it. That's fine. There shouldn't be any issue at all. And needle missiles are up. There we go. And he's down. So no issue at all for us. I think with that, we will go ahead and jump into a 3v3. There are 4 loader 4s in this lobby. What is this? I'm just gonna do a video on how to name your AC. I will say it's maybe not the most intuitive, especially when it comes to your schematic save data. But yeah, I'm just gonna do a tutorial on how to name your AC, things you should do before multiplayer. We've got 2 basic emblems and 4 loader 4s. You gotta step up your customization game. That's what AC is all about. But we'll jump into the match. So obviously we're really tanky, which is nice. We're not that fast, maybe a downside. The real maybe downside, or something you have to watch out for, is that our shield only protects us from the front. So something like switching to the coral shield in this kind of match potentially could be better. It gives us that 360-degree coverage. We got a heavy boy. Okay, nothing I think I'm overly worried about. Those lasers will hit like a truck, but ear shots and javelins, well, if he hits anything, it'll be real effective. I think I stand out a little bit. Everybody's white and black, and then there's Pinata. Pretty funny, though. We'll just follow our hoppy boy here and take our time getting in. Can see some enemies up there. There's one. Ducked behind the building. Don't kick me. Trying to oscillate me. Doesn't do anything. Punish. Ah, missed. Kind of surprised by that, honestly. I thought I got that in within the stagger window. Got him that time. Got him. Okay, we were just being pecked at by this guy. Yeah. Should have turned around a little bit sooner, facing that guy. Caught us by surprise, got our shield off. Was hoping to get the stagger on him. Oh well. I'm gonna get back in the fray. Barrel has a nice scan distance too, which is always a plus. He's open? Yeah, we'll stagger him for the teammates. Worth losing my shield there for a second. The oscillator leaves you just super open. Oh yeah, he's dead. Terminal armor. Doesn't matter. And we got needles up. Don't like that guy. He's close to staggered though. Needles might get him. Got him. A Javelin Alpha grenade launcher punish. Him too. Even to the heavies, it's a little bit weaker, but still does great damage. I don't care about your oscillator. That doesn't do anything at all to me. Paradis should finish that guy off, I think. Yep. I was looking at him, could have capitalized on that stagger. Oh well, that's fine. Javelin Alpha. Taking him out. Wasted needles. Come over the building. There we go. Again, it's worth the loss of my shield for a second to punish that. And the Paradis should finish that. Surprised we missed him. Those needles. Punish that. Keep landing on that sidewall. Not really a close range brawler. Should probably move out away from that. We have a newcomer. Got some electrical discharge on me. He got me with that needle. That's fine. This guy's picking a fight. One he's not going to win. There we go. Ooh, get our stagger off a little bit. We are just absolutely dominating this. Flip our tank around here. I feel like the heavy tank moves a little bit awkwardly if you get yourself sideways. Oh, 30%. Good job. Okay, eat that. Curious if I shouldn't have fired it. I figured it would stagger him, but it did not. Yeah, he got me. Shouldn't have dropped my shield on that one. Right before the end, too. Okay, what do we got? I mean, I'm the lowest, but... Oh, man, Yogu putting in work at that 941. What is he running? What are you running, Yogu? But still, this one isn't necessarily made to do the kills. It's just made to soak up damage. Oh, he's got those plasma rifles. Or, laser rifles. Oh, and double Zims too. But with that, we are going to call it. So that is Pinata. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments what you think of Pinata. As usual, I'm going to drop the kind of custom schematic decals. All of that good stuff is going to be available to the YouTube members in my Discord channel. Otherwise, all the pieces are right here. It plays beautifully, so feel free to make it, play it for yourself. Or if you want to support the channel, then jump in and grab the schematic. But I will see you next time.